Guess what? We're live. It's Friday, Tara. Woo!
Means nothing to me.
Yeah, I know. I realized that as a rower, as a coach, as a small business owner, the week just runs right into the weekend and
I would add community volunteer to that because
ooh,
I'm
yeah.
on a board and it's a
Yes.
disaster. It's catastrophic actually.
Yeah, you've told me. So one thing just rolls into another, and Friday I just feel like if I tell myself, "Yay, it's Friday," then I feel like it's special that the weekend's coming.
So, how's your rowing week going?
Whew, my rowing week. Guess what? We are gonna ask everybody this. When you join, tell us on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your rowing week going? My rowing week this week, I'm gonna bump it. Last week was about a 5. I think this week I'll bump it more to like I'm gonna go with a solid 8. It started out real bumpy, and we can talk about that, but the week started out real bumpy. I would say I had
Yeah.
like a 1. But I had the chance this week to get in a couple of different boats to cox and kind of work
I
on
saw.
yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta work on my coxing chops, getting ready for Head of the Charles. Um, and maybe it's just because the season is almost over that I'm feeling like a little bit of a load off the shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how is
Sorry,
your
I think
is
something just broke. Hold on.
uh,
Stand by for a second.
okay. I wasn't sure if maybe your cat got into something.
She did.
She
That's okay.
okay.
No, it's fine. She just knocked something over. I thought it sounded like it shattered, so
Oh, no.
it didn't. It didn't.
Okay,
Um,
tell me about
okay.
your rowing week.
Well, it started off with the head race on Sunday, as we talked about. It was pending, imminent at the last coffee chat, and the race went well. The weather was perfect. It was a little bit choppy. Everybody showed up. Everybody showed up and rode. Everybody was pleasant, and it wasn't bananas great, but it wasn't horrible. Nobody caught a crab. It seemed like a good group effort.
This was at Tail of the Lake, right?
Yeah, on Lake Union.
Yeah.
However, my favorite part of the whole event, other than the rowing part, which only lasted 15 and a half minutes, which was awesome. My favorite part was seeing all my rowing friends. I love
Mhm.
regattas. I love seeing everybody lining up for head races, and we're all sitting around and we're like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? And I got to see a boat of Rachel Lemieux, who was on the podcast, and 4 of my Learn to Row graduates, all in one boat. And it was so
Mhm.
fun just to say hi. And I got to see my old team, Conabear. And a really cool outcome came of that, which was that I texted one of my former students, and friend, Amy, who was in the boat, and I said, man, I'd love to come row with you guys sometime.
Mhm. And you
We
guys
all
is remind us which club that is?
Martha's Moms, one of
Martha's
the
Mom.
oldest masters women's clubs. And well, that all led to a conversation last night with Rachel Lemieux, and it looks like I'm 99% sure I get to row with them on Tuesday morning. I have to come spend the night in Seattle
Yeah.
because it's 5 a.m. practice, but I have a
Mm.
place to stay right up the street,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go practice with them twice before the Charles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm so
Well,
excited.
good. That's cool. Yeah, I always think that you're so close to Seattle, but really it's a big hassle. Not a hassle, but there's a ferry ride, and it's not just like a 5-minute drive over to the boathouse. So,
Not even a
um,
20-minute drive. It's like
yeah,
a good hour and a half, if not more.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool though that you'll get a couple of opportunities to get in some different boats and move some boats with some different women before the Charles. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, I'm super excited because also there's gonna be like coaching.
What? Who needs that?
What? What is that? Yeah, I'm just excited about being back around the camaraderie of a women's club that really is together. Rachel took me through her entire year plan for Martha's Moms that she's been executing.
Uh-huh.
it's mind-boggling. It's
Yeah.
literally mind-boggling. Like, she's got individual meetings and plans and goal milestone testing, and oh my god, it's
Yeah,
everything.
the things that are really nice to know that it's wonderful when there's a coach in place who thinks big picture. And
Mhm.
I think that we have both had experiences with coaches like that, and also with coaches who are not thinking big picture. So,
Right.
and it's really important to know how one practice connects to the next, and how to see progress over the long term.
Mhm.
So, yeah, she's amazing.
I mean, she has got it together. She did her level 3 coaching cert, and
Yeah.
she's got it. And she also has a master's degree in sports, like, coaching,
Mhm.
emphasis on rowing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm really jealous of that. It makes me yearn to live closer. I
Yeah.
can't obviously, but,
I think I sh she's gonna be ahead of the Charles, right?
they are
And
gonna
I
be
think
ahead of Charles.
I forget which event right now, but she did tell us in a women's
I have it. I have it.
alright.
Amy told me, the gal on the team.
Alright, we'll get
Me.
that figured out. We're putting together a list of people we know, events that they're gonna be rowing ahead of the Charles, so that you and I, especially on Saturday, while we're
Mhm.
wandering up and down the course, can cheer people on. And
Yeah.
guess what? That's gonna include Sophie Grant Brown, who's here with us today. Hey, Sophie. Good afternoon to you over there in London. And Sophie is actually our next podcast guest. We just interviewed her and we're working on the episode now.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. We're digging through the footage right now and trying to find all the gems to share. Sophie's gonna make her, US debut. What's that called? What was that called? The British Invasion, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, British invasion.
the British Invasion,
She's
when
bringing
the
it from
Beatles
us.
came.
Yeah.
It's by the way, it's event 18.
Okay.
We'll have a lot of friends in that event. That's the Women's Masters 60 event.
Okay. Making a
We'll
note.
have Sammamish, we'll have who we've met, and we'll have Rachel, and we'll have College Club, who is
Yeah.
Jennifer Huffman, one of our Patreons.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so last weekend you had Tail of the Lake, your first regatta as a rower since 2019, which
Yeah.
you said was awesome to get back to, just like the team vibe, hands on boats, rigging, de-rigging, all of that, seeing lots of people.
I will say I
Yeah.
had no uniform.
Oh,
I
is there a
I
Vashon?
had a pair of black shorts, and then I went looking for a Vachon shirt, and I didn't
Yeah.
have one.
Oh.
Um, so I opted to wear a black T-shirt that had a drawing of a fairy on it.
Uh-huh. So I'm assuming Vashon has are there unis for the club? Yeah, you just don't have one right now.
Um, yeah, there's tanks, trow, the juniors have all the stuff, jackets,
Yeah.
vests. I do have a vest and I have a splash jacket, but I
Huh.
don't have a shirt, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just gonna wear my fairy shirt again this Sunday. We're
Yeah.
racing this Sunday.
Hey, what are the blades? What do the blades look like for Vashon? Are they just a solid color?
I think they're just solid blue.
You
Yeah,
don't remember?
yeah. Yeah, it's like a aqua
Mhm.
color. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I
I
think
wasn't sure if there was a diamond or, some fun
a
pattern.
giant V.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Oh.
last weekend, my regatta report is I went to Head of the Potomac here
Mhm.
in DC. It's the other river. We row on the Anacostia. The Anacostia meets up with the Potomac. Um, so by the way the crow flies, it's maybe 5 miles, if it's that far from our boathouse. And I hadn't been to the Head of Potomac, in a while. In my early days, I went every year. I rode it, I coxed it, and then I don't know, the last probably 6, 7, 8 years, I just chose not to go. I wasn't rowing. Something came up and I wasn't there. But this year I went back to head the Potomac. I was pleasantly surprised that the course was easier to steer than I remembered. I went back. I coxed a mixed 8. Um, but Tara, I think you know this. I shoved off the dock. We launched, and literally like 3 minutes later, my cox box went done.
Oh, yeah.
It told me it was 100% charged.
Oh, yeah.
I had tested it. It was fine. We
Oh,
shove, we go, and then silence. So,
that's fun.
what's that?
That's fun.
Well, I guess you could call it. Yeah. So that was a bummer on a couple of fronts, right? You just can't make the sort of calls you want to as a coxswain. You really have to think big picture, and you have to think as few words as possible. Like, what can I shout that will be helpful that they can hear? And
Things that have consonants in them.
lots of consonants, and really, like, on the way up to the start line, it just was real basic. We did a little bit of a warm up, and then it was a whole lot of steady state rowing. We tried 1 or 2 builds, and that was it because I wasn't getting a rating. And then on the way down the course, again, we weren't getting a rating, so it was my job to just basically say, like, all right, we're holding steady. Or if I felt a drop in power, try and get them to add some power. But the actual commands were more just like, coming up on a buoy, give me 2 for power from, ports 2. That was a lot. I called that a lot. Ports 2. Um, and
What did they say at the end?
I mean, I think they had an okay row. I think a lot of them were surprised how quickly we got down the course, which I agree. I thought I remember the course being longer and one particular stretch being much longer. So I think everybody was pleasantly surprised at how quickly we got down the course, and they felt pretty good about it. The weather was all right. The water was pretty calm until the last 500. You make a big bend around Roosevelt Island, and then it was choppy and windy, and it was like rowing through porridge, and that was kind of a bummer way to finish the piece. But just like you said, it was fun to be back at a head race, be back with a bunch of crews and that whole mishmash of people moving their boats around, kind of finding space to get down onto the dock and back in. And for me, it was an awesome opportunity to get my head race coxing chops going, and steering chops going.
It's interesting that your first go out,
Yeah,
you had to really work at being brief because
yeah,
you might find that this crew,
yeah.
I don't know these people, they
For head
might
of
like it. They
Charles.
might like it real tight. They
Yeah,
might like a lot of silence. They might like, I
yeah,
mean, they've all been rowing together and I'm just sort of dropping in
yeah.
and finding out what they like. So,
But you're right, not having a box really made me think a lot about what is at the meat of what I'm trying to tell the crew. And I don't think I'm a terribly long-winded coxswain anyway, but this was like chop, chop, chop. What 4 words can I say to get this across and hope that my bow seat is hearing me? Um, on the other
yeah.
hand on Tuesday Wednesday, sorry, losing track of days. On Wednesday, I got to Cox a novice mixed 8, and I didn't know what to expect of that, and they blew my socks off. They were amazing. They rode a
Hmm.
solid 5K from the Potomac back to our boathouse, increasing rating and pressure builds, and they responded like any experienced crew I've ever been in. It was awesome. They did exactly what I asked. Their ratio was great. There was no rush. Rating builds 2 bumps at a time. That gave me chills actually by the end of that one, by the time we got back to the boathouse.
What was their top rate?
32!
Shut up.
Novice 8 with 1 guy in the boat who just I personally just taught to learn to row like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's in an 8 cranking down a 5K, and we finished the last 500 we built, no, last 500 we built, and I'd say, like, the last 20 strokes, we were around a 32. I mean, it wasn't, like, the best 32 I've been at, but it was, like, they were hanging on, good 32 for a novice crew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was one of our biggest complaints, about our lack of coaching was that our coach, doesn't understand how to build people into racing season.
Mhm,
Period.
mhm,
We had only done 24, 26, 28. All he does, his default is 3, 2, 1s,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
18 minutes of 3, 2, 1s.
mhm.
So what does that mean? How many minutes at a 28? That's the peak
Yum,
rate, was a 28, but only for a minute at
per
a
minute.
time.
Yeah.
And we get there and we're like, we're not even trained to hang on because I hang on at a 28 to 30 for 15 minutes
Mhm.
because we got back to the dock and the coxswain was like, she hadn't been training with us and she was like, how much time have you guys been spending at 28 and above? And we're like, he just brought 28 in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we could have obviously gone rogue, which is not very un-Vashon. That's a very Vashon thing to do, is just go rogue. But we're just like, I mean, I remember training with my other team, and I remember when 26 felt hard. I remember when 28 felt hard and then
Yeah,
easy. I remember when 30 felt hard but doable. I remember when 32 was really, really hard but manageable.
yeah.
And it's a good coach that like gets you to that point, right?
Yeah, and one thing, when I coach club and comp rowers that build literally every week over the
Mhm,
course of the sprint season and then head season,
mhm.
every week we're bumping up the rating, and it's gotta come up 2 or, once every week to 2 weeks, no longer than that. You're bumping it up 2 beats and holding there so that they're ready for head racing. I mean, when I think about the last head of the Charles I was in, that crew was holding 32, 34.
Oh yeah, I'm fucked. Like
Yeah,
I'm fucked. It's 2 weeks
so
from now and I'm not. I mean, I'll be doing erging, but it's like
yeah.
I can't. Yeah.
We'll talk
So
with the crew. We'll talk with the crew offline about what we're gonna hold at Head of the Charles. If you're going to Head of the Charles, let us know. We wanna know what event you're in so we can cheer you on, and tell us, if you guys already know, kind of where you've been hanging out for head racing, strokes per minute and where you think you might be doing your Head of Charles piece. I think for us, we might keep it a little bit lower and keep it really strong and controlled. So, we will figure that out for our composite crew made up of rowers coming from across the country. Hey Tara, there's
yeah.
a big thing that I just wanted to talk about for a minute
What's
that
up?
you and I have not talked about at all this week. It
Mhm.
kind of was on the periphery for me, like just barely on my radar.
Mhm.
But starting today through the 9th of October is the World Rowing Coastal Championships
Oh.
happening in Great Britain. And I thought that was pretty important to mention because coastal rowing is really taking off. This is a thing that you and I talk about maybe once a month ish, but it's definitely there's a lot more happening. It seems to be growing and growing quickly.
Mhm.
And some people that you and I know are participating, which is exciting.
Is that John
Um,
Obrys and Maurice Scott and those guys?
no, I don't think either of those 2 are this go round. They are beach sprinters as far as I
Mm.
know,
Gotcha.
um, but earlier this season, we did an episode called "Embracing Chaos," and we interviewed folks from New Orleans Rowing Club,
Oh, yeah,
remember?
yeah.
And, John Huppy from there, he and his wife, Hannah, they both are participating, this year at the Coastal Championship, so good luck to them. I think Hannah is in I wanna say she's in a single, and John is rowing in a men's 4, Coastal 4. Um, and I also just wanted to mention, so we had talked to folks from New Orleans Rowing Club about that club's involvement in trying to grow coastal rowing. And when I was looking at the crews from the US that are participating in the championships, the next couple of days, 2 big team names stood out to me: New Orleans and Next Level Racing. Now, Next Level started in the last year by some guys that you and I know, Mark Oria and Ben Booth. And Mark's in Ohio, Ben is in Massachusetts, and they were both in their own right successful coastal rowers. And they started offering coastal camps. And now they have this team that's traveling internationally and competing. So
Cool.
yeah, big deal for those guys. They've got a bunch of athletes, both in the men's and women's side, and I think mixed boats participating. So I'm going to be following along today, tomorrow, and Sunday to see how everybody does.
Yeah, where's a good spot to check that out?
Oh yeah, so if you go to worldrowing I think it's .org. I just forgot all of a sudden. Worldrowing, worldrowing.com, and search for World Rowing Coastal Championships. What's kind of a bummer is they are not having any live streaming of live streaming video. They're going to have live streaming audio. So I guess if you really wanted to listen to rowing racing audio, you could do that. I'm sure in the next couple of days they'll be posting video, but it just won't be live.
Wow. I have been seeing some posts about that and lots of wind because it's hurricane season.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, that's part of the coastal, right? And that's part of what a lot of coastal rowers love is kind of handling the chop,
So
whereas
I'm assuming there's life jackets involved in coastal rowing.
that's a good question. I mean, they're certainly not wearing them. I don't know if they're aboard the boats. I do know that, especially at a world championship like this, there will be officials on the course. But I don't know. That's a good question, Tara, about life jackets.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume, but maybe they're not so far from people. But then kids die at middle school practice in Florida.
Yeah, that's
You know,
terrible. Again, we feel so badly for the North Orlando crew. They lost 2 kids a few weeks
too.
ago. Yeah, in a freak lightning accident.
Yeah. So there's a GoFundMe out there if you've seen it, to support the families of those kids.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So have you ever seen that website, the Rowing Death website?
No.
Yeah. There's somebody who has cataloged everyone who has died while rowing.
Mm. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know if it's called the Rowing Death page or
Mhm.
something, but if you look it up, there is somebody who's actually like keeping track because it's so infrequent.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, that's very morbid. On the other hand, if I have no idea what the intention of this website is, but it is interesting data to have,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's
What
good
were the
safety material,
circumstances?
safety training material, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, what were the circumstances that led to this person's death?
I interviewed a coach years ago, who was subbing for a coach on maternity leave with a senior crew, basically an elderly crew,
Mhm.
and he had someone die in 3 seat on a row, and they did everything. They did CPR with him in the boat, all this
Oof.
stuff. And so about a year after the fact, I sat down with the coach because I thought maybe there's some training stuff that we could pull from this, or maybe there's some advice, or something that we can pull from this. Um, it was really an interesting interview. Like
Mhm.
he was sort of forever scarred from it, and I think he
Sure.
actually left coaching because he was
Oof.
so affected. Part of it was being so affected by it, but
Mhm.
um, it was unavoidable though. It was nothing that they could have done. It was totally this guy's body. Just
Yeah, and it's really I mean, we don't think about this a lot as coaches, right? We get to practice, we assume everybody's healthy and strong, they shove off the dock, and we go, and sure, we have our emergency plans, but when was the last time you really thought about what would happen if there was a true emergency in the boat, right? We so rarely have to think about it.
Michael Tutloff just put the website up that I was talking about.
Oh, Row Safe USA in memoriam. Hey, thanks, Michael. Nice to see you here. Thanks for being with us today.
I think, one of the messages I always conveyed to my Learn to Row students was nobody needs to be the hero. And if you're not feeling well, don't come,
Mhm.
And also, I would tell my Learn to Row students, if you have something going on with you that you don't want to share with the group, you need to come and tell me. And example, a woman was on the water in my Learn to Row class and she's like clearly in distress. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Turns out she had like life-threatening level asthma
Oh.
and did not have her inhaler in the boat
Oh.
with her, nor did she give it to me, which is sometimes
Oh.
an option, right?
Mhm.
Um, and we pulled the doc in, and while I was sort of dealing with these people over here, I went to go tend to her. She left. She got in her car and
Oh.
left.
Oh.
And when I heard next from her, it was like 5 days later. I was checking in. I was like, "What happened? Where'd you go?" And she says, "Oh, I've been in the hospital for the past 3 days." Like, she
Wow.
went directly to the ER into the hospital, and I'm like, "You needed whoa, we needed to wait." So, one of the things we always talked about was medical forms, medical history forms, which all the kids fill out,
Mhm.
you know? But usually people come and tell me if, like, they can't really hear out of an ear or they have no cartilage in their knee
Sure.
or they had a stroke at some point or, usually people will let me know, but
But yeah, those are all big ones. I've been working with my crew this year to let me know any of those sorts of things, but also if they have any nagging pains. If they have pain,
Mhm,
especially if they have pain in their backs, I need to
mhm,
know. What's
mhm,
been a little bit frustrating for me is that they'll let me know that they have pain in their back and then they'll continue to row. And they'll
mhm.
continue to sign up for practice and they'll show up to practice and tell me that they're fine and then we're out on the water and they tell me they can't pull hard because their back hurts. And I'm not sure how to get that across to smart, independent adults that you need to take care of yourself and it's better to just take 3 days off than ruin yourself for the next month. I mean, I've said it that bluntly. I suppose my next step could just be to not boat them for their own sake.
Or, sometimes it shouldn't come from you, maybe it should come
Yeah.
from the captain and just be like, "Look, dude, like, you're a liability in the
Mm,
boat. We need to have a good solid practice, and we can't because you're in the boat." Like
mm.
like, realize the interdependence of the sport. Like,
Yeah,
when we are only as strong as our weakest person, and
yeah,
if our weakest person literally can't row, then we can't do this, you
yeah.
know? So, it might need to come from a peer.
From
It
someone else, yeah.
Yeah, I had to find out from I had this one rower who was an older rower, and he made everything either into a joke or a
Mhm.
fight.
Mm.
Everything I would say to him, he would counter with some sarcastic, nasty response, or he would make a big joke about it. I mean, coaching stuff, you
Mhm.
know? And I finally asked one of his teammates, I was like, "What is it about this guy? Like, what is the problem?" And she said he actually had a stroke and it destroyed his executive function. So
Hmm.
he's either fighting or being sarcastic. Essentially, he's got this
Mhm.
really weird thing. Find out later that that of course wasn't the whole story, and I find out later that he was actually a giant misogynist and did not like having lady coaches. Because
Oh,
I thought it was me, and then he treated all these I mean, like, "Whoa, I can't even do anything with that." Like, that's yikes. So
yeah.
when his wedding ring, which he put in his shoe, fell off into the water at the dock, that actually, was a moment where he really needed me, and I was like, "Okay, you still work for them.
Sure.
They're the customer, so you still work for them." So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Sophie was just commenting, AB people are, so weird about medical stuff. I probably overshare. I'm not sure I know what AB people are, if you can tell me what that means. But I agree that, I not agree, I actually would prefer it if someone overshared, if they
I
told
think
me
she
what
was able-bodied.
oh, able-bodied people are so weird about, um oh, that's interesting. I would yeah, I just in general would rather that people told me what was going on, so that we could be on the same page about best care, best self-care. Hey, you and I were talking earlier this week about communication with teammates and communication with other coaches. And you said something weird happened in the boathouse. Uh, and you can tell everybody about it, but I will just say that you and I had similar experiences where we turned around and walked away from people at the boathouse, which
Yeah.
doesn't normally happen. But did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I had a situation where, after a regatta is over, people have a lot of ideas about how you could be better. And that without a coach guiding that conversation, without anybody guiding that conversation, it can go all kinds of ways. So this went all kinds of ways. So, people were talking, the stroke was talking to the coxswain. And of course, we could overhear it because of the microphone about how we should be in the gym, we should be land training. I'm like, well, you should have been talking about that in January, not the week before the head race or the day of the head race. And then on land, there was lots of like side conversations about, well, we could have done this, we could have done that. What about this? What about that? What about this? Then followed by a YouTube video being shared that night of technique, and followed by, so the next time we come to practice, there was lots of this and that. And I had a teammate, without asking, give me a criticism of my rowing, which I found pretty baseless because she rows in front of me, number one.
Mhm.
Like eyes in the back of your head. And it was a comment that I've never received in all the years that I've rowed. And I would know if I was leaning. So she was saying I was leaning. Anyway, what happened was I walked away. I just, that's not the way you deliver that kind of information. Like, you're not a coach, all this stuff. I wasn't mad. I was just like, oh well, like I know I don't lean. And then of course during practice, she was the one that got the feedback about leaning and I got a compliment for not leaning. So,
Mhm.
it worked out. But she sent me a very nice apology email about how she delivered the message, about how she didn't want to treat her teammates that way, about how she felt about the race. And I thought it was really, really nice to just have a human conversation, because we don't hang out outside of practice and we don't see each other outside of
Mhm.
practice. I don't really have a clear idea of who they are as people. I was much more bonded with my last team. So I thought it was really interesting. But yeah, the delivery wasn't great. I think the intention was there, but
Yeah. Yeah. So you told me that was on, Monday, uh and on Monday evening, I was at the boathouse. We were unloading our trailer, and re-rigging after Head of the Potomac, and it shouldn't have been a big deal, but there were a couple of coaches there, including myself, and we kind of had a plan for how we were gonna get unloaded and re-rigged, and it was raining, and it was chilly, and I just wanted to get it done. I just wanted to get it done. We weren't being as efficient as we could be following the other coach's re-rigging plan, and so I just made an executive decision to do something a little bit different. Let's get started on another boat. Let's go. Let's do it. And it turned into a little bit of a kerfluffle because the other coach said, "Listen, I've got my plan. Don't know why you're stepping on that plan."
ugh,
And I was like, "It's not efficient. I'd really like to get this done." But it kind of escalated the conversation. And it was brief. It was like a little eruption, 45 seconds. And it was just enough, though. It's end of the season. I'm burnt out. I've got all sorts of feelings about how I've been treated this year with the club. And I couldn't take it.
yeah.
And I did something I've never done. I was like, "See ya." And I turned around, walked out of the boathouse. I was like, "I'll see you tomorrow. Like, I don't need to be here. I will talk to you later." And then I got in my car and I'm like, my brain is about the things that I just said and what I could have said differently. So that other coach and I have since talked to each other. It was a really great conversation. And it's actually got me thinking again about not only how important it is for coaches to communicate, but that it is okay to be emotional, which is something that I feel raked across the coals about several years ago as a head coach. And I feel like, you know what? No, it's like it's important. Like we are not all these machines. We all have emotions as long as we can come back and have rational conversations with one another.
Yeah.
So,
And part of it is people have a unique, um like everybody turns into a little bit of a different animal when they're burnout and a different animal when they're on race day, for
yeah.
instance. And one of my favorite pieces of coaching advice was from Eleanor McElvain, and she said, "Know your wake."
Yeah.
So if you really are having a hard time, your energy is being felt. You're leaving a wake, no matter what it is, positive or negative.
Yeah.
You just need to really be aware of it, but you're allowed to have it. That's the
Mhm.
thing. Like people have, when you go to a master's practice, like you can guarantee somebody in the room recently had someone die
Mm,
or suffer an illness. You have a
mm.
very good likelihood at our age that somebody's got an elderly parent who's not doing well. You've got people getting divorced. You've got people moving. You've got people transitioning jobs, careers. I mean, any number of things. So it's all the whole thing of like you have no idea what kind of war people are having,
Yeah.
and having a lot of grace for that. So
Yeah, I love
I'm glad you resolved it.
Yeah, yeah, we did, and that was Monday where I just, like, stormed out of the boathouse, and then, the next time I was down there, we had just like, I had a good practice, and the practices just got better all week. So, I kind of feel like, in a way, I just needed to get that I needed to get that out, get
Yeah,
whatever it was off my chest, off my shoulders, and move on. And,
sure. It's like a
so
release valve. You just gotta
yeah,
you gotta
yeah,
release
and it's
pressure.
hard because, like, I don't think of myself as that sort of a person, really. I think I'm pretty even-tempered and even-keeled, but, yeah, I love that release valve notion. Like, there's only
Yeah.
so much. Sometimes you just gotta let off some steam, and I did. Um, but anyway, what else is happening? What are you doing this weekend? Anything?
Yeah, I'm racing on Sunday in Tacoma, at a race called American Lake.
Mhm.
There's a lot of it's kind of a sub regatta, like none of the Charles boats go to it because it's really kind of a waste of time.
Mm,
Um, it's a nice regatta. It's a juniors, masters, and collegiate actually
okay.
regatta. But it's kind of for people. It's good for people who aren't going to the Charles to get them another race. Yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna do that actually, drive to Tacoma and drive back and work in the barbershop all day. So,
Yeah.
um,
Michael Tutloff says he's going to Head of the Rock on Sunday. Remind me where that is. I'm not sure I know where that one is.
yeah.
Um,
Rachel, I actually need to jam in a second. Jam
yeah,
in a minute. I
no.
have sort of an emergency happening with my board.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I
Okay,
have to go to a meeting,
okay.
and put on my happy face.
Put on your happy face for the board. Get through it. You're gonna be all right.
Oh, my resignation letter is already drafted.
Oh man.
It's imminent. It's
Yeah.
imminent.
Someday
Yeah.
over beers, we'll tell everybody else that story about the board team
Not
had there.
rowing related. Not
Yeah,
rowing related.
not rowing related. But
Yes, but God love all of you who do community service and serve on boards. So God love all of you. And
yeah, on
which,
that note,
by the
yeah.
way, stay tuned in the imminent future for a statement from Seize the Ore Foundation about next steps.
Oh, yes, I think that there are some changes afoot, so we'll be posted to hear about
Exciting
season more.
changes.
Ooh,
Exciting.
good,
Mhm,
excellent.
mhm.
All right, Tara, well, thank you for chatting with me this morning.
Thank you. I hope you
Yeah.
have some a restful couple of days ish.
Yeah, yeah, I have a quiet few days in terms of rowing, but lots on the list to get ready for Head of the Charles, but all that's coming together. And hey, I don't have a banner for this, but I wanted to tell people real quick to check out steadystatenetwork.com/shop. We've
Oh,
got new products on the
new
shop,
gear.
and
Yeah.
we hope you'll check it out.
Yep. I'm gonna order mine this weekend so I can have it for the Charles, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna be flying the flag. I think I'm also gonna get a little megaphone, like a real like coach megaphone with a little handle and everything. And
Yeah.
like I'll get some stickers for it.
All right. All right. Sounds good. How are you gonna get that in Boston, or are you gonna pack that from Seattle?
You can pack it and put socks in it.
That's actually a brilliant idea. Just wrap all your clothes in the yep. All
It's
right.
only 13 inches long. So
Oh,
I'm
total.
getting the white one with the metal end and the little handle.
Okay.
I
I
can
was
like
envisioning like a full
no, no, no,
size.
no, no, just 13. And like I'm getting the little handle so I can clip it to my carabiner, my little backpack.
You're so clever. All
Well, and
right.
then but I need to get a bigger steady state something to put
All
on
right.
it.
We'll have stickers. So
Mhm.
we'll slap those on there.
All right.
All right. Well, everybody, have yourself a good weekend. If you're racing, have fun. Let us know how it goes. And we will be back next Friday for coffee chat. See you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Take care.